In The Joker, the movie starts off with a man putting face paint on and putting on a clown costume to perform in front of a sign to advertise it. And the sign gets stolen by a bunch of kids, and his employer threatens to fire him, but he has one more chance. After being jumped, one of Joker's friends gives him a gun to protect himself, and when he goes to his next gig, the gun falls out and he gets fired. Then, on his way home, he gets jumped by a group of Wall Street businessmen, and he goes into a manic episode and kills all three. And then he gets another chance with a comedy stand-up gig, and it bombs and it goes viral, and he gets invited on the Murray Show. When he gets invited on the Murray Show, he's wearing his full clown getup, and then gets made fun of by Murray in front of everybody, and the Joker snaps and kills Murray on live television. The Joker then is arrested and put into a police car, and as he is driving through Arkham, there are riots. The cop car ends up getting hit, and the Joker is free.
Todd Phillips, the director of this movie, was trying to make an example of an already familiar character, and he was not trying to glorify this behavior.
We connected Joker to week 3, suffering. I connected it to the Languages of the Cross article. I took the definition of suffering and applied it to Joker, which is the loss of control in our lives, and realized that the Joker experienced this in full. Due to his mental illness and his inability to control himself, he does not have the control in his life that is a basic human necessity. Leo connected the movie to preventing suffering, or the inability to prevent suffering. And it's just the way that you deal with it that matters the most. And the Joker deals with it terribly. Whenever he faces any hardship, he kills people, he fights people, he ends up in the worst situation possible because he deals with his suffering in the worst way possible, which is taking out on others. Ocean connected it to the suffering packet, where it's a world of violence and pain, and specifically the Joker adds to the violence and pain that is inherent in the world, but Jesus takes away from the suffering and pain. And Max contrasted Jesus and Joker and saw them as they both experienced suffering greatly, Jesus being crucified and Joker being pretty much hailed as a cult leader. They both had very large followings, except Jesus's was for doing good and Joker's was for doing bad. Jesus takes suffering with dignity and love, while the Joker takes it the other way with hatred and frustration.
So at this point in the movie, the Joker has already killed people and failed as a comedian, and on his way to the Murray Show, dressed in his full Joker outfit, he's seen dancing down the stairs, and this can represent his descend into madness and not taking the high road, and seeing that he has given up on trying to help himself.
So one thing I saw was that when Arthur was becoming increasingly more lonely, he befriended one of his neighbors, but as we realized later, to some extent, he had been hallucinating this relationship, or just was being an unreliable narrator throughout the story, which I think was done purposefully to show that this kind of behavior is not a good way to handle your suffering. To kind of disconnect yourself from reality doesn't help us to deal with our suffering. And I connected personally to this because my junior year last year, I was suffering with burnout and anxiety, but I looked to my friends and relied on them heavily as my support system, which got me through the rest of the year, and is why I think I'm much more mentally and physically healthier and happier than Arthur.
After taking time sitting in silence and reflecting on these questions, I learned that I suffer a lot and sometimes do not deal with in the best of ways. I realized that I can look at suffering in a negative, pessimistic way, or an optimistic way, in which I view it as a chance to grow and see the brighter side of things. I learned that suffering can bring you closer to the people around you and can lead you to see the beauty in everything. And what really matters most is your suffering is your perspective.
The 3 articles that we used, the first 2 were in the week 3 section modules. The 2 were the crucifixion stories of all 4 gospels and the language of the cross article. And our article for the director's intention was from the Washington Post, and it was called Outrage is a Commodity. Director Todd Phillips bashes far left criticism of Joker.